Good evening and welcome to our session. Shall we open the book? We are on page 40. We had done the first three sutras on page 40, correct? And let's just quickly take a look. What we were talking about on page 40 was Master had just talked about how he had related detachment to accurate perception. So that was, a very nice insight. All right, let's move on. Due to your sensitivity, when you know others are insecure or have negative thoughts, accept them for what they are and stay away from them. So, your sensitivity will come because of your spiritual practices and so on. So, as you become more sensitive, you are likely to be able to sense that this person is insecure. Being insecure means that person has perhaps slightly weak self-esteem, maybe a little, extra sensitive to any. Sometimes people can't handle the truth, it's like that. So, or sometimes people may just have a lot of prejudices or other negative thoughts. So, I came across this piece of wisdom many years ago. An electrical socket, this person told me, I was trying to explain to him that, I'm doing very good for this other person, but that person is always reacting negatively to me. So he said, okay, there is that electrical socket in front of you. Put your finger in it. You bless it and you put your finger in it. So it was slightly strange. He said, look, it's like this. Expecting that to change, if that is the nature of that person, don't try to change other people. Change yourself. Don't try to change other people. Accept them for what they are. So the basis of our virtue of loving kindness and non-injuriousness is what? It is to just bless, forgive, and move on. There is a word accept, ACCEPT. There is a word expect, EXPECT. Understand the difference. Too often, our relationship problems, come because we expect a certain kind of behavior, a certain kind of response from other people. Instead of that, the way, accept them the way they are. And it will lead to a lot of inner peace, right? Try it and see. Now, Master is saying that if those people are negative and so on, accept them and then stay away from them. If you can, very good. Just cut the cord. If you cannot, for example, they are very close family members, you have to accept them for what they are, and then you need to isolate your aura so that you're not affected by their behavior. If you know shielding, you can shield yourself, or you every time you're close to them, you just mentally say, I isolate my aura from the aura of this person. So at least the negativity of that person does not affect you. This is something that I found of practical use. So, just try it yourself. All right, we move to the next section. Pride is an obstacle to spiritual growth. It is a manifestation of inaccurate perception and incorrect expression and shows a lack of self esteem. Use your heart and head. Throw away your pride. Actually, this entire subsection, and it's a pretty long subsection, goes on till for almost 2 pages. This is on pride. Now, why has Master given so much space to pride? Because this is the biggest weakness. Also, I think Master will mention it. This is the last weakness that goes. It is the most persistent vice or weakness, that we have in our character. And on the spiritual path, sometimes we get pride becomes even stronger because you tend to look down on other people. So again, this is rooted in inaccurate perception. You see, one has to realize that I am not perfect, no one is perfect. All of us have a long path ahead of us, and being humble will help. Pride will cause harm. And Master will explain in great detail in the next sutras. And one has to also understand that pride is really, your subconscious mind or your inner defense mechanism. So that is how it is helping you, I mean, you, the personality, cope with poor self esteem. We have weaknesses. Instead of admitting them, being honest about them, we cover them up with pride. That is the most common cause of pride. All right. All right. Let's move on. The more intelligent a person is, the greater the possibility of a spiritual fall due to pride. You see, pride is a weakness mainly in the mental body. So, with more intelligent people who have a more developed mental body, easier for them to fall prey to pride. है ना, उनके लिए ये प्राइड का रोग जो है ये पकड़ना ज्यादा आसान हो जाता है. All right, let's move on. Watch out for envious thoughts and envious actions. When you have pride, you do not want others to be better than you are. Watch out for these obstacles. So now another aspect of pride is envy. When someone else is doing well, when someone else is, has done something well, instead of appreciating that, we tend, our reaction can sometimes be envious. Again, one has to understand it is caused by pride, by poor self-esteem in myself. It is a very important weakness to overcome, to avoid, to eliminate. Sometimes we think, oh, but it is natural. Well, it may be natural, but it doesn't mean that we should live with it. Our progress, our spiritual progress demands that we get rid of it. And, the tools like inner reflection, firm resolution, or if you are on the erratic path, blue triangle, these are very, very helpful. If you practice them even for a short time, in a short time, you may see that you have learned to appreciate the good points of other people. You have learned to applaud the good fortune, the achievements of other people. Right? So envy will change to something very, very positive, and it doesn't take a lot of time. But you have to, first of all, become aware. You see, I keep saying this. Self change only requires two things. Number one is awareness. You have to be aware. Yes, I have this problem. And Master will talk about it also in the next few sutras. Second thing is will. You must have the determination. I have this, I have to get rid of it. And then practice it. Master has given us the methods. He's given us the techniques. Just follow them. All right, let's move on. We are on Sutra 3. Let's read the next two sutras together. There are two kinds of pride. Negative pride is looking down on other people. Positive pride manifests in doing a job well. Negative pride is a crutch. If you do not get rid of it, you cannot progress. Watch out for pride. It is one of the last things to go away. You remember I talked about that. It's one of the last weaknesses that goes away. The reward of pride is failure. So I think Master is making many points here. One point he's making is that positive pride is good to have because it leads to our doing good jobs. So we can also call it, in other words, it can be called good self-esteem, positive self-esteem. Number two, negative pride is, like somebody has a problem with the leg, cannot walk normally, they will use a crutch. Similarly, people with poor self-esteem, they use negative pride as a crutch. It's a part, like I talked about it, their inner defense mechanism, their subconscious mind that tends to create this. Okay, another point that Master is making is that there is no option. It is a must. There is, we must get rid of it. And, also I would like to point out to you, not just on the spiritual path, but even in life, if you look at the most, the super successful people like Bill Gates, like this, that, and so on, they are very humble people. They know that they have good points, but they also know that they have weaknesses. Right? And they will not look down on other people. I remember reading an interview of Bill Gates many, many years ago when, I was in my youth. So this interviewer went to Bill Gates's office And Bill Gates had a picture of Henry Ford. Henry Ford, again, very successful American business person. And this interviewer said, "Oh, so you admire Henry Ford?" So Bill Gates said, "No, I have kept his picture here to remind me that if I become proud, I will fail. I cannot accept success. I have to keep working at it," or something like that. So this is a sign of humility, that you accept that, I'm not perfect and I can have failure also. Okay, let's move on. Avoid pride or self delusion. Do not be satisfied with superficial answers. Be extremely ruthless with yourself in eliminating pride. It is the chain that keeps the student from seeing the truth. Pride is a manifestation of self delusion. So, you know, self dishonesty, or what Master is saying, self delusion, when we are not honest to ourselves, when we fool ourselves into saying, no, 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 I am perfect, or something like that, then it becomes very dangerous. So there is a saying, pride comes before a fall. Have you heard this saying? Pride comes before a fall. So, people get a little high or they make some progress, but because of pride, then they fall. And history is full of them. In the Indian history, for example, there is the story of Ravana, who was a mighty king, warrior, great sadhak, very highly spiritually progressed and so on. But he had pride. Or, from Mahabharat, Duryodhan, or from Lord Krishna's life, Kansa. So they were all people who were self-deluded. Okay, let's move on. People with pride always create problems in an organization and will try to grab power. Because there is self delusion, and because there will usually be this sense of looking down on other people. So they will tend to have this thing that I need more powers because I will, I make the right decisions and I don't need the advice of other people. So they tend to grab power. Now, that is why they become dangerous, or they will create problems. But if there's any question, please feel free to interrupt. I'm not looking at hands up or anything. So just, butt in. Just unmute yourself and speak up. All right, let's move on. Meanwhile, page 42. Pride causes the disciple to distort the spiritual teachings. Let's read the next one also. When disciples are bloated with pride, they cannot hear anymore. The student self-inflates himself because of pride. Because of that, he is incapable of absorbing any teachings. Now, all of us are students, really. I mean, we are all trying to, gain more knowledge and so on. And here, Master is telling us that the dangers of pride as a student, to us as a student. So what happens is, what number one problem is, we tend to distort. Why? Because our pride makes us think, oh, I know better. And that is very dangerous, because it leads to lack of respect, lack of gratitude to the teacher, to the teachings. If you do not have humility, if you do not have respect and reverence to the teacher and to the teachings, your ability to absorb the teachings will be limited. You see, the energy of pride is hard, and it usually resides in the throat chakra. And this is where we need to, absorb the teachings. And so also, when we think that we already know everything, or we already know enough, or we know more than the teacher, that can lead to things that will be bad karma or super bad karma. You know, in one of his books, Master talks about this person who goes to meet a Zen master, and he keeps talking. He doesn't let the master speak. So the master pours him a glass of water, and as he pours the glass, or in a cup of, he's pouring water, he keeps pouring until the water is overflowing. So this person says, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he says, "It's like you are already so full that there is no space for something to go inside." Okay, Let's move on. Inner beauty is more important than external beauty. What is inner beauty? So, in my understanding, and if you have a different understanding, I would love to hear it from you. My understanding is inner beauty is the presence of virtues. So, if you think of very virtuous people, people with great qualities, they may lack physical beauty. Their outer appearance may not be that great, but they have a magnetic personality. People get attracted to them. It is because of their inner beauty. You see, think of a light bulb, and which is covered with specks of dust. So the light from inside gets blocked. When you think of them as the vices, as we remove the vices, the light, the inner light, which is the light of the soul, it will shine through. So that is what happens with people who are highly virtuous. The light of the soul is shining through them, and that makes them very, very attractive, very, very magnetic. You know. Okay, let's move on. People without self-esteem want to chop other people down. I keep saying this. So it is when your self-esteem is low or poor, your defense mechanism of your subconscious mind, that that tries to defend that sense of poor self-esteem. And one way of doing that is you make other people look smaller. Instead of raising ourselves, we try to cut other people down. So we try to find flaws in them. We try to find faults in them. We try to say, oh, it is not this person's doing. Actually, it is like this. Or we, try to take away credit from them. So that is how we mentally try to chop them down, make them look smaller, make their achievements look not so wonderful. That is how we tend to do that. Okay, it's time already. I think we'll good time, good place to stop here.